Chapter 5 Southern Sumatra Archaeology and Art of Sumatra by Robert Heine-Geldern. The megalithic of South Sumatra. Traces of both older and younger megalithic cultures are widespread of the mainland of Sumatra. I refer to the stone village walls of the Bataks, the meeting places and squares in cockfighting in Minangkabau, but surrounded by stone seats to the erected stones and stone heaps in the same territory, the stone memorials and megalithic graves on the upper Lokan, the stone canons of South Kerinci, and the stones decorated with reliefs at Bangko in Upper Jambi. Finally, as Professor Loeb has pointed out, the Papadon system of Lampong is rooted in megalithic culture and phase of merit. By far the most important group of megalithic monuments is that on the plateau of Pasema in southwest Sumatra in, in the adjoining districts. According to investigations made by Van der Hoop, these monuments include menhirs, single or in groups, dolmens, stone truths, stone graves, terraced buildings said to be tombs, and above all stone images. This sculpture shows distinctly two quite different sorts of style, the older one of which primitive and indigenous, squatting figures with hands folded around their knees, however the rest belong to this older style figure 65. They are closely related to the primitive pre-Hindu stone sculptures of Java, and as these certainly belong to the original megalithic culture. Among the sculptures of the second, more evolved style, there are single statues as well as plastic groups. The latter represent men riding elephants and or buffaloes, figure 68, 69, or one or two grown up people with a child astride on a buffalo, a man with two children riding an elephant, groups of two or three people, sometimes a man or woman with a child, groups of people standing next to an elephant or buffalo, a man fighting an elephant lying on the back, figure 67, two men fighting a snake, two tigers pairing, the tigers clutching with her forepaws the head of a human being lying beneath her. In Pasima, as in Nias, we have to deal with a developed megalithic culture, but here the results have been of quite different nature. Instead of a static art as in Nias, we are confronted with a truly dynamic conception and rendering the physical world figures 64, 66, and to 69. Everything is full of movement, power, and passion. The faces and all their features are conceived as powerful animated masses. The protruding eyebrows, the round eyes, the large cheekbones and padded lips, the ponastism, and above all the huge lower jaws give to most of these faces an expression of uncanny brutality. Certainly in Pasema, the sculptures have intended to bring forth a naturalistic rendering of native racial types, but the features are so exaggerated that some figures look almost like caricatures. This had the effect that erroneously there were to be representations of Negroid types, in contrast to the distant frontal and column-like character of the sculptures in Nias. Most of the images of Pasema, especially the groups, show agitated movement. Body are twisted, heads are turned sideways, thrust forward or drawn back. The grip of mighty arm strikes or master some animal body clutch convulsively at each other. The exaggerated size of the human figures is acute disproportion to that of to that to that of the buffaloes or elephants. The rite of fight increases the effect of brutal force. While the Nias stone images are simple reproductions of the wooden ancestor figures in stone and remain similar to this in every respect, it is very probable that Pasema sculptures and wooden prototypes. Here it would appear we deal with an actual stone style. A very characteristic feature of these images consists in the principle of making use as far as possible of the natural form of the stone medium. This comes forth most noticeably in Batu Gajah group. Here the rock is adapted to the shape of an elephant flank on each side by a warrior in relief work with the least possible alteration of its original form. Figure 64. On the inner walls of two stone cheese fragments of paintings have been founded by Van der Hoop and de Bie. Two of these paintings in black, white, red, and yellow represent a man with a buffalo. The third one is probably intended to be a man with an elephant. They deal obviously with the same subjects as the sculptures and depict them in the same style. The painted figures show the same violent movements, the Gothic, most caricatured faces, thus proving with absolute certainty that the sculptures and the stone chips originated the same period. It is evident that the sculptural art of Pasema of later period, though not being devoid of primitive features, has been strongly influenced by the style of some high culture. This of use from marked naturalism, perfect freedom of movement, and a complete discordance of the frontal restraints. The artistic reproduction of elephant riders seems to indicate, if not the influence of Indian art on the style of the Pasema monuments, at least the influence of Indian culture of their creatures, as the elephant is tamed and put to use as a riding animal in Asia only in the range of Indian culture. Indian influence on the style of Pasema art, though probably present in the view of the sculpture, is very slight indeed. In any case, even the faintest traces of Hinduism and Buddhism are lacking. Van der Hoop has drawn the attention to the fact that on the stone of Batu Gajah figure 64, two bronze drums of the oldest type, we are as were used in Indochina about the beginning of the Christian era are represented, and that the swords, daggers, and helmets which are chiseled in Pasema sculptures are very similar to bronze weapons belonging to the same period, which have been unearthed near Dongson in North Annam and Tonking. Moreover, Van der Van der Hoop and other investigators found installed cheese grapes in Pasema, besides numerous stone and glass beads, a few fragments of bronze objects, a small golden nails, a small golden nail, and an iron lance head. He infers from this that the creators of the Pasema monuments had in mind a Bronze Age culture, though, as in Dongson, they were acquired with iron and constructionally made use of it. We may call this late Bronze Age culture, which probably began to penetrate Southeast Asia from the north not later than about 300 BC, perhaps even as early as 600 BC, and which must have lasted till about 100 AD. Dongson culture, just as we speak of a Hallstatt culture or, a Latiner culture in Europe, that a vigorous wave of this culture spread over Sumatra is discernible from the traces it left the ornamental art of the Batak and Minangkabau. As an attempt to demonstrate elsewhere, vergesselijke grundlagen voor de kolonialistische kunst. The sculptures of Pasema show far-reaching stylistic resembles to the stone monuments of the tomb of China's General Huo Qiuwing in Shanxi province, erected in 117 BC. The stone cheese grapes of Pasema certainly do not belong to the older megalithic culture which had become to Indonesia in the Neolithic age. Wherever in Indonesia or Malay Peninsula, stone cheese grapes have been investigated, objects of bronze of iron were found. This fact allows us to presume that in the same way as the Pasema sculptures are related to the China sculptural art of the early Han period, the stone cheese graves of Sumatra were related to the Chinese stone cheese graves of the same time and that this form of tombs has been transmitted from China to Indonesia. Finally, the paintings of the underworld in Pasema remind us, in spite of all stylistic differences, of the decorations of China's tombs of the same period. Consider all this, we may well divide the monuments of Pasema into two groups, an early one comprising the menhirs, dolmens, and the primitive squatting figures, and the latter group, probably due to some colonizing movement coming from the mainland of Eastern Asia between the years 200 and 100 BC. This latter group includes the peculiar sculpture art of Pasema in its stone cheese graves. Some, some of the images showing the characteristics of both groups make it obvious that both styles have met and merged in Pasema. It is conceivable, therefore, that some of the monuments of the oldest time may still have been erected the same period as the more evolved Bronze Age sculptures.